There is nothing wrong with your internet. Do not attempt to adjust your settings. We are controlling the podcast. We control the squealing and the screams. We can make your heart flutter, your eyes blur from tears, or sharpen your mind to crystal clarity. For the next hour, sit back. We are in control of what you hear. We repeat, there is nothing wrong with your settings. You are about to experience the awe and mystery known as the female mind. You are now entering the Fangirl Zone.
Welcome to Falling Pieces. I'm Terry.
A podcast dedicated to the NBC series Debris. I'm Sean Fangirl S.
Exclusively on the Fangirl Zone. I'm Steve. We have some ratings for episode 6. It brought in a 2.43 million viewers with a 0.36 rating in adults 18 to 49. So we dropped another 20,000 viewers, but we ticked up 5/100ths in our 18 to 49 rating.
One day I'll understand what the hell these rating numbers mean. But today is not that day.
No.
I feel like the Monty Python thing. My brain hurts.
Initial reactions for this episode, guys. What do we got? Like, I will say something I have said repeatedly in almost every show Steve and I have done.
Yeah.
Kids are creepy in these kind of shows.
She wasn't
I am
creepy.
not backing down from that.
No.
Oh, come on.
Creepy.
Most of this episode, she was creepy.
She wasn't creepy. She looked like she needed to take a good dump, but she wasn't creepy.
That side eye, that was a hella side eye she was doing at one point. Come on.
Yes.
Like, my eyeballs hurt with how much of a side eye she was doing. That's all.
Don't be picking on her. She was all right.
All right. Well, what was your initial reaction, Terry?
To her, or to the whole thing?
To the whole thing.
I really love this episode. It had some obvious fringeness to it, and I thought we had some revelations that were shocking, and I love the whole dynamic when we get to it about when they go to the main guy we first talk about, brother's house, and we see the main guy, the first guy's daughter, who's this guy's niece, and that whole family dynamic and that whole thing. And I really like what happened at the end, what she did to him, where he was kind of doing his imitation of that drinking bird thing that I thought the mental Dorito chip, routine right to the old skull was priceless.
Well, I'm going to bring up something that neither one of you have brought up so far.
He always does
and
that.
Maddox is a fucking lunatic.
Yeah.
Wow, what a torture scene that was.
That was oof.
Cut
And
into
he
his
was
brain
so
and insert a
calm.
metal plate? Come on.
Yeah. I mean, just the suspense was when they were clipping all these different things to different parts of his body.
Yeah.
And it was like, we got a hand, we got a finger, we got a toe. I was like, oh my God. And then they start doing this slice. I'm like, oh my God, is this Hannibal Lecter crap? What the hell is this? And then that
I
piece
know
of
we're
metal.
going to get there, but it's like, what is going on? Yeah. So
Ooh, yeah. Well, like Maddox said, I've been able to get some information when people thought it couldn't be gotten. Clearly so.
Yeah.
I guess so.
All right. Well, we are recapping season 1, episode 7. You Can Call Her Caroline.
Hi, Caroline.
Don't call her late for dinner.
That's right.
Our first group of pieces includes, at a public pier, a couple waits for a ferry to arrive, but it's running late. And
That little
we see a
whipping
man-
back and forth was great.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was great.
Overbearing father. What? What did you say? Nothing.
The man starts to shake and kind of looks pretty ill as everyone around him, except for one Oriental lady, freezes.
What's up with that?
Yeah. She puts her hand out and he hands her his duffel bag and she just walks off. And he pulls out a gun, puts it to his head, and clicks the trigger.
Yeah,
I was
some-
like, what?
Yeah. Holy crap.
yeah, somehow I think the new ad campaign for DoorDash isn't going to work.
Yeah.
That's not going to really get people to use your service. Yeah, I thought he was actually going to hurl.
Yeah. He looked
I mean,
like
it's-
he was.
Yeah, and then because you didn't notice everybody around him had frozen, then the camera started going. I was like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was weird because you see them all frozen, and the one girl who takes the bag,
Right.
like she moved. I'm like, okay, was that a screw up and they weren't supposed to show her yet?
Right.
Yeah.
Or what, what was going on? I'm like, huh, this is so weird.
What was that challenge where everybody took pictures of groups of people and everybody froze? Wasn't the statue challenge? What the hell was that called? It was
Mannequin
big.
challenge or something like that.
Mannequin challenge, something.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what.
Yeah. So that's an intense way to begin the episode.
Oof. Yeah.
And we see Brian meeting with Maddox, who tells him about Ash and Influx. He shows Brian Ash's phone, but Brian doesn't recognize the encryption.
It's Klingon.
Yeah.
I would say it looked alien.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He tells Maddox he thinks Finola and MI6 know about her dad. What?
Yeah, I love it. It's like, oh, how do you know that? Or why do you think that? I thought he was going to, actually admit it. Oh, he told her.
Right. No.
Yeah.
So you can tell that even though he told Finola that, yes, he's got to be a good guy because he saved my life, he's still in there just kind of dropping breadcrumbs to see if he can help her prove that he's not who Brian thinks he is.
Mm-hmm. I think he's kind of, proving against himself, because I think there is a piece of him that's struggling, which we don't know what it is yet, that Maddox did save his life.
Right.
We don't know how and from what yet. But he's struggling with the fact that, there's a lot of stuff we're saying here that really doesn't make him look good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, of
And
course,
then the fact that we see what we see later, I'm like,
Oh,
yeah.
Maddox is a good guy.
Oh my God.
So Brian tells Finola that he told Maddox about her knowing about her dad, but he wants to wait for any evidence that proves Finola's right about Maddox.
She is.
Yeah. In Maine, an orbital team says they traced the calls to a phone and ID'd the buyer.
Oh.
A guy named Liam, but he shot himself. They found the woman he gave his bag to, but she has no memory of it and no bag. So
This is really weird because, she's just wandering along, what's it, the side of the road somewhere, they said,
I think
right?
that's what they said. Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
do you not remember where you were to at least turn around and go back?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they go and visit the man's brother, Luke, who hasn't yet told his niece, Caroline, about her dad's death. He tells them his brother found some strange alien pieces in the marsh behind his house and was going to sell them on the black market.
He was awfully open.
Yeah.
Like, are you a little too forthcoming here?
Yeah. He even
Mm-hmm.
gives them Liam's laptop.
Man, wrote down the password.
Yeah.
Aren't you helpful?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Made that seem awful suspicious.
Yep.
Look at how bad we are. We are looking at somebody who was being helpful and mourning his brother. And we're like, that was suspicious. I don't know about him.
Right.
We should be on orbital. That's all I'm saying. We belong on orbital.
See, all these years of watching Doctor Who has caused us to not trust anything and anyone.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Law and Order, but anyway.
Oh, that too.
Now, of course, before they leave to explore the marsh, the guy asks Finola if she's had any experience breaking the news to a child that their parents have passed. And Finola just tells him that you've got to convince her that you're there for her.
Mm-hmm. Excellent advice.
The creepy kid walked in, didn't say anything.
Oh, stop picking on her.
Creepy kid.
She's not creepy.
She was.
Ugh.
So back on the road, Finola sees Liam had visited several conspiracy theory websites. And out of nowhere, Finola remembers they never checked the marsh where Liam found the debris. How could we have ever forgot that?
Yeah.
I just assumed they jumped ahead.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. but
yeah,
no.
Just like, wait a second.
So they return to the marsh, and Finola immediately starts to act strangely and says she doesn't want to be there and that she thinks it doesn't want them there, so she leaves right away.
Yeah.
That kind of freaked me out.
Just a bit.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking it had something to do, and she actually references it to, was it the first episode?
Right.
When the stuff
kid.
through the kid interacted with her.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Oh, back at the car, Finola tells Brian it spoke to her in a whisper.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
we
probably
have a-
not good.
Creep-tastic beginning to this episode.
Yeah, I'm enjoying. I was sitting there going, yeah. So our next group of pieces includes Maddox having Ash strapped to a kind of what I thought, once I saw the equipment, an electric chair. Not the kind you would think in prisons, but kind of like that. And then they start hooking all these little sensors and electrodes on his extremities, like his hands or fingers. They take off his socks and they clip things on his toes.
I thought they were going to electrocute him when they took off
Right.
his socks.
And
Then
that's
you see,
what
like,
I
that
thought.
Bucket.
And
That's
greased
the-
his feet.
Greased his feet
See,
up.
I didn't know what they put on. I'm like, what the hell was
That's
that?
for the electrical current to pass through.
Yep.
Helps it pass through. Yeah. So, yeah, I just thought he was strapped in and the head strap first. And then when I had a wider shot and I saw the equipment, when people were coming, I'm going, oh, crap, they're going to electrocute this guy.
Yeah.
He looked nervous when he couldn't turn his head and you just hear all the carts coming in.
I would
I
be
liked
too.
that visual too.
Yeah.
I know I'm weird, but like him trying to turn his head and look, and all you see is the wheels,
Yeah.
and it's like a whole lot of them coming in.
Yeah.
I'm like, that would probably scare the mess out of me too.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear the wheels, you hear all these footsteps coming in. It's like, oh God. So then, which went to the creep factor even bigger and shows us how nasty Maddox can really be, because he's kind of touting his own abilities in the past to get information out of people that other people thought couldn't be gotten. Somebody decides to pull like a little Hannibal Lecter on the side of Ash's head. I was
That was
like,
messed up.
oh, isn't that nice? They're going to give him a haircut for free.
Right.
But
But the
Maddox
needle
was so
in the head
frickin'
was
calm.
was really creepy too. It was like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's like, oh, don't worry,
It's
just
Novocaine.
yeah.
It's better this way. It's like, oh my god.
And go ahead. You
I
were
was gonna say, and when they're doing everything, and he's like, breathe.
yeah.
Okay, I'm trying not to swear. Sorry, guys. But it was like, excuse me, breathe. Let me shove something in your head and see how good you're gonna do.
And
Just saying.
when he first put it in there, now I'm sitting there acting all clinical, and I'm thinking, is that gonna like numb part of his brain? So if it does, are you gonna really get any answers out of him? You know, and then I'm trying to remember which side of the brain does the logic and the other side's the creativity, and I couldn't remember, and it happened so fast. And the next thing you know, they shove this piece of metal in there, and then my next thought is, well, there goes being able to wear a baseball cap. That's
Was
just
this
shot.
supposed to be like just under the scalp? Because they didn't have like a bone saw.
No. Yeah. It
would have to
wasn't
be
that big,
yeah.
but it was still an inch or two. It
So-
sure seemed like. So
Still, like I was cringing, and I swear my
Yeah.
head been itching since, like in one spot. Like,
but how amazing was it when Maddox tells him to think about the church that in the town that he grew up in, and eventually we see that appear on their monitor, and you go, "Oh, this is."
That was so cool, though.
Yes, cool, but
that.
damn creepy.
I love that. That was great. Made me think of Walter's universe window.
Yeah,
where you could see, but all of a sudden you see that little thing of the church. I'm like, damn. Oh, this is good. This is really good. But Maddox is still Captain Creepo.
Yeah, no denying that.
You could see why he was telling, patting himself on the back, telling Ash, how good he was. Because, this would be something that would make me talk.
Yeah.
So then Brian, we go back to Brian and Finola, and he says that Liam's last call was to his ex-wife. And so they go to see her. And she tells him that Liam had pleaded with her to get Caroline if something happened to him. She's Caroline's mom. And she said no. And when they asked, she goes, because Caroline belongs there.
Just the fact that she said no so fast, I was like, what the heck just happened?
Right. And she even tells them that she fought for Carolyn in the divorce and got custody.
Mm-hmm.
And, go,
and the new husband's like, no.
Yeah, no, she's where she belongs. How
and
creeped
for a
out
second, I'm like, yeah. Well, for a second, I'm like, all right, what's he doing that he's all weird? Is he, one of those crazy controlling
Stepford wives. I'm telling you. Because the way she said, because Caroline belongs there, it was like, hi. She belongs there.
Yeah. Like, okay, what is happening?
Isn't the sky a pretty shade of purple?
Yeah. It was beginning to feel like a Channel Zero episode here real quick.
Oh, my God. Yeah, it was.
Because when she said no at first, I was like, well, you're a crappy mom. And then when she, flips the switch, belongs there, I was like, okay.
We see where the girl gets it.
Yeah.
Mom.
No kidding. So Caroline walks out and actually sits down in the marsh. And I guess she won't be allowed to sit on the couch for a while. And pieces of debris go right toward her underwater.
I couldn't figure it out at first because it looked like fish or minnows or
right. Yeah,
whatever.
that was my. I said, yeah, the debris are acting like minnows.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, wait, that's like the stuff. Okay, this is weird.
And they just were going right to her, zoom, and I was like, damn, And so then the team decides to go back to Luke's house to see Caroline. And Caroline again walks out to the marsh. Finola follows her. And while she's checking her, she checks her temperature. It's just a mere 423.5 degrees.
That's L factor is off the charts.
Yeah. So Caroline then sees the team on the other side there checking out the marsh, and she says they have to leave. And then a little bit later on, she tells Finola that Luke, that's her uncle, makes her get the pieces from the marsh.
I'm still trying to figure out how she's doing anything. Because that
she is.
All the way through the end has never been explained.
I think that she must have had something with her. This is a bit of a stretch that made the other pieces even come out from underneath the sand. They had the one shot in the water where one piece came out from under the sand at the bottom and started heading towards her. Maybe she had another piece with her, because it's not like she, like we're saying, she didn't have anything that we knew of. So maybe she did, and that's what made it. To me, it would be like if you sit in the marsh there, it's like you're just going to get a wet butt. That's it.
It was awfully muddy.
It was, yeah. And I was looking at her going, I don't think those boots are doing you any good now.
Right.
So,
got mud in your wellies.
Mud in your wellies. So I think we need a call with child labor laws to our congressman over this, making her get pieces. And I'm a little upset about that. So then Brian in the house tells Luke to gather some of Caroline's things for a few days. Because earlier, he tells Luke tells him he can't remember being told to go and stay at a hotel. Okay. I don't think Brian or Finola kind of talk gobbledygook.
No.
And so that to me was another sign because, you know, we had earlier Finola and Brian saying, hey, we left without checking the marsh.
Yeah. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So now he's saying, I don't remember you telling me. And it's like, yeah, that's where my spidey senses started to tingle there.
Creepy kids at this point.
Exactly.
And
it's just piling on the creepiness.
It's not a creepy kid. He's the creep.
But it's piling at this point. We don't know that. She's sitting in the mud. She's got pieces coming to her.
I've sat in mud.
And the Uncle Luke doesn't know what's going on. Did you have alien pieces start coming to you?
I am an alien piece. Let's just put that on the record.
And we have super side eye happening around about now.
I think you're anti-kid. I'm just going to throw the gauntlet out because she was not a creepy kid. She was a kid who was stuck in the middle of a really messed up situation, and being so young, she didn't know what to do about it. That doesn't make you creepy. That makes you screwed. I'm screwed in this situation. I don't know how to get out of it. That doesn't make you creepy. Now, being in a screwed situation and you start, you know, doing sexual stuff with wombats, now that makes you creepy. But she wasn't doing that. Twere no wombat to
That's a whole different show. That was
I know.
Magicians.
And
it was a sloth. Come on.
Or at least an episode of Dr. Phil. So let's get back into So while Luke goes off to go gather her stuff, Brian notices on a table Liam's duffel bag. So now the spidey senses are really tingling here. And Brian is kind of like, do I walk out or do I kick this guy's rear end? What do I do? Or do I need the cone of silence?
Yeah.
What do I need here? So then back outside, Caroline tells Finola, this was some serious stuff, that she thinks Luke hurt her father and keeps her mom away. We find that she's more right than you think.
Right.
Yes.
Later on. And that he also wants her to keep getting more pieces. You know, just you go out and get them. And I'm thinking to myself, go get them yourself, schmuck.
Yeah.
And she says because he keeps wanting to do it and she doesn't want to, she hides some. She doesn't give him everything that she finds.
Yes, some was a bit of an understatement.
Exactly.
Oh, my Lord. Holy. So Luke tells Brian about how Liam found the pieces originally, but didn't really care about their power. Well, you shouldn't care about it either. But you hear him later talk about how, like, higher ups, bigwigs, politicians, etc., kind of really stick it to, you know, the soldiers, which I'm sitting there going, damn right. I'm like, keep talking. I know this is a diversion, but keep talking. You know, I was like, yeah. And so then he then tells Brian that what he did to Liam is going to hurt him for the rest of his life. Uh-oh. But Liam interfered with the mission.
I was thinking it was some alien thing then.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I thought he was. Remember we said somebody we thought was possessed like a few episodes back? This is what I thought was the case with him.
Right.
It's not far off, but, you know, it's not like an alien living inside of his body kind of thing. And the mission was to stop the bigwig higher-ups who were going to be meeting nearby soon. They were going to have some big meeting or whatever. So he wants to stop it, and he even says, they want us to be machines, I'll give them one. It's the Lucinator.
Yeah.
So,
but the whole time he's talking, when they show Brian, to me, it looked like Brian was on the verge of tears the entire time.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so it wasn't just me, because I'm like...
No. Well, he fulfills that.
He's a pretty good actor.
He fulfills that later on. Yeah, he tags onto that later on in the episode to why he would be doing that. You know, when Luke is starting off talking about, you know, the higher-ups versus the soldiers scenario, you know, he knows that from his own experience. And later on, when we get to the climactic scene, you know, he fulfills that. So, yeah, he looked like he was tearing up to me, too. Yep. I was like, damn. So he went through the same pain. He even says to Luke that people who can help him, and you can hear in his voice, yeah, I've been there. He's not just saying it to Luke. You can hear it in his voice. Great acting, by the way.
Yep.
But then Luke just kind of flatly says to him, maybe it's time he should go find his partner. Dun, 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 dun. So
Yeah,
Brian
just blindly gets up and walks off, and you go, this is not right.
See, I felt like it looked like he was hesitating, like he was fighting at first, because he like turned his head and it's, it's like he didn't get up right away.
Right.
But then Luke was giving him that creepy stare down.
Yeah.
And then he finally got up.
Well, I think he kind of felt like dejected, like, here, I know what you've been through. I know it's painful as hell. I'm telling you, there are people who can help because I've been helped. And Luke basically just blew him off. And so he's kind of like, here's a fellow soldier that, we stick together. I want to help him. And he just blew me off.
Right.
And then I feel like that makes what happened later even more of a betrayal of Luke, knowing full well that Brian has basically been in it, up to his eyeballs.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like that was a huge betrayal on Luke's part.
Oh, yeah. But I mean,
more
Luke,
than just I'm the bad guy, I'm going to do bad things. Like, yeah, that was just not cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we see Luke get out some pieces and rub them in his hands, and you just kind of go,
what the hell? Ugh. So anyway, the team leaves, and to me, they look like they left in a hurry. I don't know if anybody else, they just booked.
Yeah.
So then Luke walks outside. Caroline's standing there, kind of sad and upset, and he comes down the stairs and says, well, see what you did? You made me waste too much energy on the team, the people that visited. And I was like, oh, crap. And then he adds, he knows that she's been hiding pieces. Oh, double crap. And he asks,
I have to say, though, what was the whole thing with Finola saying, oh, you have pretty eyes? It's like, was she trying to tell her something?
I didn't think so.
I thought that was weird because then the whole eye thing happened.
Yeah, I think it was Finola trying to tell Caroline, don't let your eyes give up your hiding spot for the pieces you're hiding.
Oh.
I don't think she would have caught that. Maybe that's what Finola meant, but I don't think she would have caught that.
I just thought it was weird to put that in there.
I see the way that she did it, because she kind of shoots her eyes off to the side real quick. I just thought it was like a nervous reaction, because he then asks her, where did you hide the stuff that you're not showing to me? And her eyes just kind of dart to the side towards the shed or the garage.
But it took a minute because he kept saying, how is it protecting you?
Right.
That's the part I couldn't figure out how that fits in.
Yes. And
that's the part.
That and her being able to call it to her.
Right.
It's weird.
Where he's talking about how it protects you. Yeah, maybe now that we're talking about Finola saying the eyes, and again, I don't think Caroline would have picked up on it. When he said how it protects you, that might have been what made her. I still think it was a nervous reaction on her part, because sometimes your eyes will give you up, even though you don't want it to. It's true. They just would, you'll look somewhere that you don't want to look, and you shouldn't look, and then your brain says, look there. It's like, oh, crap. And I think the protecting her line now to me makes sense, because I thought, well, maybe I should just treat that as a throwaway line, to where he finds the stuff. He looks the direction she is, that's towards a garage. So he makes a beeline, and inside an old-fashioned deep-sea diving suit with the big round metal helmet, there's this mother load of debris pieces.
Yeah.
And where did that thing come from? Come on.
I've got one here. What are you talking about? I wear it when I go take a shower. So I think that when he said about how's it protecting you, the fact that they were inside that suit, I don't know if that would have been enough protection, for it to not permeate through that and affect her too. But she didn't show any signs. It was
more that he couldn't control her.
Right.
That too.
Yeah. That's where I think that was headed, was both Liam and Luke could not completely control her.
Well, I think Luke more so, because Liam, I don't think he would want to do to and with her gathering pieces like Luke has. I think Liam was probably more focused on, I don't know what this is, but I bet you I can get some money for it.
Right. Could be.
And I think Luke kind of figured out, maybe he was looking at the conspiracy theory sites too, and he was hearing about this debris because he mentions to Fanola and Brian, and they just kind of ignore it, where he says there's debris falling from an alien ship and it's landing on Earth.
Spaceship, yeah.
And the two of them are just kind of like not saying a word.
Right.
And I thought, well, maybe you've been using his laptop to look at the conspiracy sites yourself.
Yeah.
But I think, again, I don't think it would have been enough protection to stop the debris from affecting her. But maybe when he said, how's it protecting you? Or what is protecting you? I think that being inside that suit might have done it. But she still would have had to carry it from the marsh into there to put it in the suit.
Right.
So maybe it's the debris picking up on the fact of whether or not you're an evil so-and-so at the core.
Right.
Maybe that was it. I mean, Liam, we could assume wasn't. And so he was a victim of all this. Like, he really didn't want to give the duffel bag over. And you could see him fighting not to pull the gun to his head at the pier. And Caroline is just kind of caught in the middle of this whole thing that she doesn't really fully grasp. And Luke is the only one that's like, hi, I'm hanging around debris. I'm going to use this.
Right.
And even tells, Brian about the mission. Liam got in the way of the mission. So I think it probably picked up on your human nature, what you're like inside. And maybe that's
probably why they were going to Caroline, because Caroline's a child and is still pure at that time.
Hasn't been tainted yet.
She's innocent.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not creepy.
She's creepy.
Leave the kid alone.
Let's go to the final group of people.
Just for that, I'm going to put her I'm going to put her in front of you at the buffet line just to tick you off. God, stop picking on the poor girl.
Sneeze on it. Anyway,
well, that would just be
Fanola and Brian arrived back at the airport to board Air Orbital. Please keep your trays in the upright position. And a team member asks Brian, what's going on? What happened to the little girl? It's fine. Everything's fine. She belongs there. And like, he said it, and I feel like the other teammate member was like, what are you talking about, you weirdo?
Yeah.
And that, I think, is what kind of clicked and caused Fanola to stop.
Right.
And she's like, wait a second, how did we get here?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, oh, this probably isn't good, because where did Luke say he was going?
To
the base, which is exactly where they are.
Hmm.
And you see him cutting through a fence, and I'm thinking, maybe it should have been electrified. And the pod dog agrees.
Yeah, Nick's the pod dog says you have to electrify that fence.
And he gets through the airport fence and uses his mind. Hold
on. Nix is very passionate about this scene.
Yes.
Nix is like, don't cut through the...
So he cuts through the fence and uses his mind to bring down a military plane, which I'm watching this going, all right, are you going to cause it to go up into flames too? But your whole point was, oh, they use military people like pawns. You just killed military people that were the pawns.
Use the force, Luke.
Yeah, except he obviously went dark side.
And that's the first step of the betrayal on a broad scope, that he takes down this military plane. Yep.
Because he assumes that there's bigwigs on there, but you don't know.
Nope. More than likely not. They go for first class, not cargo.
Yeah, they're on the good planes. Yeah,
the good ship.
Good ship lollipop.
So Brian starts to run when he sees the plane go down, and Fanola looks, and of course she's horrified, but she happens to turn her head and sees Luke. So she pulls out her gun and she's yelling at Luke to, stop or she'll shoot. And that's when Brian's like, oh, wait, I should pay attention here. But what surprised me is Luke makes her lower her gun, and officers arrive and he makes them shoot each other, which I was like, damn, that sucks. Because again, betrayal. And he tells her to turn around and walk away, which surprised me. I'm like, why is he letting her, I guess, live? Not that I wanted her to die, but
Yeah, come on.
Because when Brian comes up and puts his gun up, he starts saying, "Oh, it's like that. You've turned on me," and he makes Brian put his gun up to his own head.
That's another betrayal.
Yep. Yeah, that was a huge betrayal in my mind.
Yep.
With everything that Brian shared with them, knowing that he was in Afghanistan, knowing that he lost guys, doing that, which is something that I think we all know is huge because so many vets have like PTSD, and we've lost way too many vets who come home and don't get the correct help.
Right.
And seeing that Luke did that, like, I was pissed.
Yeah.
That's like an understatement.
Yeah.
But I was like super pissed. But I'm like, okay, he's doing that to Brian, knowing everything, but not making Finola do anything except turn around and not
Walk
look.
away.
And I thought Finola was going to start crying because she couldn't do anything. And you see both of them fighting like hell to try not to let Luke take over.
Well, maybe he can only, which this kind of shoots it at the theory in the head because he's telling her to walk away. Maybe he can only focus on one person at a time. Like when she approached him as he was walking out, he could focus on her, forced her to point the gun down. Then when the officers show up, he gets one officer to turn his weapon on the other one. And then the one who fired on his partner, then he has him pointed at Finola. And then Brian comes up and he starts getting Brian to point the gun at his own head. So maybe he can only focus, I can't say all now because he's got her turned away and walking away.
I could only do so much.
He could focus on one at a time. He could affect more than one, but he could only have his focus on one person at a time.
You know what? That's probably not too far out there because then you see him dump a bunch of the debris on the police car and he's like rubbing his hands on it. So maybe it's like he's trying to power up to do more.
Right.
It's catnip.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what was weird is some of them stand like on edge.
Yep.
And he looked to me like this just crazed look in his eye.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you half expect him to start doing the evil villain laugh, like, "Mwah," as he's playing with it. And the next thing you know, he rams his head down. Oh. And then this debris is just sticking out of his head. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? I was like, did he really lose it? But no, when they pan the camera up from him laying there with the debris in his head, there's Caroline.
Yeah.
Now, Brian and Finola are released, and Finola had run over to Caroline. She's like, "Did you do that for us?" It's like, "Thank you." It's like, I get the thank you, but kind of not exactly the way I go with that. She's not a
creepy kid. Damn.
So she's able to control it. So how much was she controlling the whole time? I'm just saying.
And I'm sitting there.
Leave it out there.
And I'm sitting there. If Maddox ever looks at video footage of this, he's going to say, "There's a new way to interrogate somebody. Yeah. Have them slam their own head into a piece of metal."
But hey, Caroline is reunited with her mom, and her mom's like, "I was trying to get to you, but then it kept slipping away." And okay, that's sweet. And they're reunited, and I'm thinking, you mean you're not taking that kid in? Because I don't know if she's okay.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I'd get a
test on her.
Yeah, I'd get a full psych workup and then take her for a milkshake.
She can have the milkshake while she's having the workup. How about that?
I don't think they can do that, but okay.
And then Finola gets a phone call from her sister Dee Dee, who's talking really flat, and she's like, "I think I'm going to have a relapse. I need you to come home." I'm like, "Relapse? Weren't you just doing drugs 2 episodes ago?"
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? And then she says, "You know, maybe we can go somewhere. You belong in London with me. Maybe we can go somewhere like Michelle's country house." And that kind of took Finola aback because she's like, "Michelle's country house?" She's like, "Yeah, something like that." And it's like, okay, this is weird.
Yeah, Finola's reaction was like,
Yeah.
Because at the same time, you have Maddox calling Brian, saying he's finished his interrogation of Ash. Well, yeah, I wonder if he's still standing.
Or did he finish Ash?
Yeah.
And we need you to get back to Langley right away. I'm like, okay, Maddox wants Brian back. I'm sure he means the team. But he wants him back at Langley because we're preparing for a raid. And, oh, yeah, we also informed Ferris. And then you have Dee Dee just calling, be like, you have to come back home. It's like...
Too much coincidence.
Yeah. And then when Dee Dee hangs up the phone, she hands it to Ferris. And I'm like, what the hell? What did you do? What are you doing to her? There's a lot of people in that room.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then she looks at her phone and it looks like Finola is typing something. But when they flash back to Finola, she just is looking at the phone. So I was a little confused with that.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was like a current message or like an old message, because when your phone rings, she picks it right up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm guessing that was an old message.
Well, you see a message that is starting to be typed.
I just got an idea.
And I'm not sure what message Finola was looking at, but I have a feeling it was from Ferris.
Because that's my theory is now that it's Ferris's phone, which would make sense for Dee Dee to hand it to her. But I think other episodes where it's like, I can't talk now, because I think the last text that we saw, I might be misremembering, a few episodes back, was sent from Ferris to Finola saying, I can't talk now. That was when they were in New York City.
Right.
Yeah.
And, I think that was the last text that we physically saw on the screen. And that looked like the last message in that string of text messages.
Yeah.
I can't talk now. So.
And of course.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Finola tells Brian that, Dee Dee used their safe word that they used when they couldn't talk because their parents were nearby. And you go, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you got codes. All right.
Now you know why she was acting funny, yeah.
Yeah. But then, she's looking like, what could she be trying to tell me?
Right.
And suddenly, Brian's like, yeah, I think they found your father. It's like, wait, what? Maddox didn't say that. How the hell did we jump to that?
I think Maddox told him that. We just didn't hear the rest of the comment.
Yes.
Oh, like off screen he said that?
Yeah, because when he says he's also told Ferris, his voice trails off and we go to Dee Dee and Finola's call.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's like...
I don't know. That was just weird with the whole thing. And I can't figure out what it was. I was thinking the typing thing, like when you see the bubble, was supposed to be like they were putting something somehow into Finola's phone, like a tracker or something to listen, or like it was something embedded in text is what I was thinking.
Yeah,
but we don't see anything come up, so I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
When one bombshell at the end isn't enough.
Right.
We used to, on Following the Pattern, a podcast I was on that was about Fringe, one of the co-hosts had coined the phrase, the snake in the mailbox moment. And that was almost always at least, in the last 5 minutes or less of the episode, there would be this big surprise that kind of came out of left field. And she called that the snake in the mailbox moment. And this was like a two-headed snake.
Yeah.
First Dee Dee is like being told what to do by Ferris. And is that the first time she's been told what to do by Ferris or not?
I'm thinking not.
And then Brian, you hear what his phone call was about, why they need him back at Langley, because they found Finola's father. So obviously they must have gotten something out of Ash.
Yep.
And he's saying going to Washington, not wetlands, but something lands in Washington. So obviously a picture came across that screen. So it's like, yeah, the two-headed snake out of the mailbox. Holy crap. Yeah. Is Dee Dee a full-blown or occasionally, when helpful, operative for Ferris? I
think it is definitely not something she's doing willingly.
No, I don't either.
But I don't think she's a full-blown operative, because that's why she is trying to warn Finola.
Right.
Because you didn't see anything on Ferris's face that she had suspicious looks at Dee Dee.
Right.
When she's telling her, blah, 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 Michelle's country house. Really? That's what you mean, Michelle's country house? You want to go there? Yeah, something like that. Ferris, that was like over her head.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah, she didn't seem to be suspicious of that. So
she's holding, I'm sure she's holding, even if this is the first time, she's holding her drug use and probably throwing her into jail over her head.
Or
I would
her
suspect.
boyfriend.
Or her boyfriend.
Right.
Yeah, she's got probably some kind of legal trouble that we could bring down on you unless.
Yeah, you do this.
Yeah. And what's Dee Dee going to do? I mean, she's like, Fanola is the apparently smarter of the two sisters who went out and has this big career with MI6. And now she's on this team where she's over in the States, et cetera, et cetera. And here's Dee Dee back home, kind of moving along from day to day. And she's a drug user. And yeah, Ferris could come along and say, guess what? And what's Dee Dee going to say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was her. I like that because that was her. Because, when Fanola first had that look on her face, I was like, okay. And I didn't think of the whole phrase, Michelle's country house. I'm trying to sit there and go, who the hell's Michelle?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking it was like a stepmom or something.
Yeah. Is this a character?
Like that's what stood out first. And then when Fanola explains it, it's like, oh.
Yeah. She said the whole thing. And I've eaten at Michelle's country house. They have some great pancakes, but very light and fluffy. So, yeah, but you could see immediately on Fanola's face, like, oh, really? Are you sure?
Yeah.
And then when she tells Brian, she just used a code word we had as kids. Whoa. And I'm thinking, is there any kind of coincidence? This is a tinfoil hat theory without any theory to it at all. Is there something about her using a code from their childhood and this video of them being a kid when they were kids? Was it 2 episodes back?
Right.
Is there any connection to that? I don't know what it could be, but is there any connection to that video of them being kids and now she's using a code word? We obviously figure out why. A code word from their childhood. Is it just coincidence or is there some kind of a string they're kind of, dangling there wanting to tie to something? I don't know.
I think there's a mighty big string tied to that phone of Dee Dee's.
Well, do tell us, Mr. Michael's Crafts and Art Shop.
I think Ferris has had that thing bugged all along. And she's the one who provided Dee Dee with the video.
Oh, interesting.
Well, you mean she's had Dee Dee's phone, because I'm assuming that's Ferris's phone she handed back to her.
No, it was her phone. It had to be, because otherwise it would have said Ferris on the...
Oh, yeah.
No.
So what the hell was that text message? I can't... Well, I guess she would have sent a message to Dee Dee. I can't talk right now.
Right.
Yeah. So she thinks that she's had her... See, and we've been saying MI6 might have Air Orbital bugged.
Right.
We've been talking about that in the past. Yeah, it could be. Oh, wow.
That was just way too convenient for Dee Dee to call her with that video. And like, she just found it on her phone out of nowhere. Like, what?
I'm guessing either from the get-go at the formation of Orbital or now that things have been going along and her father has reemerged. I'm thinking either from the get-go or now since the father reemerging, I'm guessing that Ferris or maybe even some of her higher-ups are saying that Fanola is a strong agent, but she's got this big Achilles heel
right
about her father and about family and relationships and that sense of connectedness that could end up like Obi-Wan tells Luke, bury your feelings. They do you credit, but they could be used to serve the Emperor.
Right.
Where she feels that that's a weakness. And now that the father popped up and now that that's come back to the surface of Fanola's mind, I'm sure Ferris at the very least now is sitting there going, we need to, kind of clamp off this artery before there's too much bleeding.
Right.
So now she's got Dee Dee thrown into the mix.
Yep.
And I agree against her wishes. Yeah, clearly.
Well, you know how we feel about the episode, and we want to know how you feel about it. So shoot us an email at contactus@fangirlzone.com. because we'd love to hear from you. And while you're at it, please rate and review us on your podcast platform of choice, as good ratings and reviews help other fans of the show find us. Tell your friends about this show, and we do hope you're enjoying our podcast. For this episode of Falling Pieces,
I'm Sean Fangirl S. Where am I?
I'm Terry, and I've sat in a marsh for this entire episode.
And I'm Steve. Why are we here?